Welcome to Z-Files, folks. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to be looking at some comments on my videos. The most common videos with comments are the ones a Christian reads the Quran, and but this particular comment right here is on a devotion time, the Abrahamic Covenant, and it's this. I'm just getting right into it. Hey, I would be willing to have an open, respectful conversation about faith, and you can even upload it if you want. Would you be willing? Now, I checked the channel. He is Muslim, and so I'll just give you my reply. My time is very limited, and if I carved out some time for discussion, I need to know more information. How long would the discussion last? What is the subject matter? And are you looking for a conversation or a debate? Typically, it's not a conversation that's being looked for here. It's a debate. It's an opportunity to try and proselytize me to become Muslim. Uh, well, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to become Muslim. But you might be thinking, let me keep that up, and because I want to get some of these other comments. You might be thinking, why are you reading the Quran? Well, why does James White read the Quran and he's able to read it in Arabic? He's a Reformed Baptist preacher, and he's a theologian, a preacher. He has a broadcast, and he's debated Islamic scholars, uh, all on a very friendly basis, by the way. Um, The reason am reading it is, well, there's a number of reasons. One, uh, Islamic faith has become more prominent in the United States over the last few years. There are more and more Muslims in the United States that are practicing the Islamic faith. That's number one. So I would like to know more about their faith because the likelihood of running into a Muslim and having a conversation is becoming higher and higher. And if I have a conversation, I would like to at least be able to know a little bit about their faith from their original documents, not from secondary sources, but from their original documents. And I'd like to know a little bit about their faith. I wouldn't want to go into the conversation being ignorant of their faith. And even reading the Quran, I'm still not going to know everything. I will be a little bit better than if I had not read it. But that's one reason. Another reason is there are some Muslims in the United States, not all, but some that are calling for Sharia law, that they want to replace the United States Constitution with Sharia law. Well, I'd like to know more about that. I know what the news media has put out about Sharia law. I know what secondary sources have put out about Sharia law, but I'm wondering, what does the Quran say about Sharia law? Is it in the Quran? If it is, where and what does it actually say? So you see, that's why going to original sources is so important. Most people don't have time to do that. Most people don't have time to sit down and read something like that. I mean, they're busy working, they got families. I understand the busyness of life. I really do. I mean, there was a time when I worked three jobs to try and take care of my family. I had my main job, I had a part-time job, and I was in the military reserves. That's three jobs to try and feed my family. Because times get tough sometimes, and you have to step up as a man to take care of your family. Well, that's what I was doing. Now I'm retired. My wife and I are empty nesters. I've got a little bit more time on my hand, even though I still stay busy. I do things on a volunteer basis, but they keep me somewhat busy. Working with the city and my church. Um, and so I've got more time to sit down and go through the Quran. And so for someone who would want to know more about it, there's material out there. They could be driving down the road with YouTube on and learning a little bit more about that subject matter. James White is so much better than me on it. And there are others who have so much more knowledge than I have. But my perspective is from someone who has never picked up the Quran and read it before, and they pick it up and read it. What would that be like? What would they find in the Quran, and what would they think? Of course, I'm coming from a Christian perspective because I'm a Christian. So if you want to get that kind of a perspective, my videos are available for that. If you're Muslim and you want to know what kind of response or reaction a Christian would have when reading the Quran, my videos are good for that as well. So hopefully they're somewhat educational in that sense and culturally indication educational as well. Um, so that's just two reasons why I'd read the Quran. Another one is curiosity. I'm curious about other religions. Doesn't mean I'm going to convert to them. I've got the Nagavad Gita back here, the Hindu, what's kind of considered loosely Hindu scripture. I've read it. I read it a number of years ago. And so after reading it, I don't think I knew that much more about Hinduism because it's such a different mindset than the Western mindset. I really want to go back and look at it again because I don't think I understood it that well when I read it. So um, that's an example. I've got the Book of Mormon that I'm going to be going through. I got some stuff on Jehovah's Witnesses from Jehovah's Witnesses. They're not secondary sources, but original sources from them. And so when I'm saying something on these subject matters in a year or two from now, once I've gone through those original sources, I can say, well, I've been through the original sources, and this is what I found in the original sources. Not just speaking off the top of my mind and just making stuff up. Um, I want to be, I want to have some integrity and honesty when I'm looking at these things. If something is claimed and I don't find it in the original sources, then I can say, well, these people, secondary sources claim this, but I looked at the original sources, I didn't see it there. And that's the reason why I do that. All right. Let me look at some more. I got it on a charger um, because my phone was getting low. Let me open this up. I'm wondering if I can, okay, let me do it this way. There we go. So I asked a question in a video yesterday that I did. It's a Christian reads the Quran, reading 37. I wanted to get an original source on the life of Muhammad. I know what the secondary sources say about the life of Muhammad. I know what's popularly said on YouTube and social media and in the media about Muhammad. But once again, I'd like to get an original source. And so, I mean, secondary sources, I mean, they can be pretty good, but they may not be 100% accurate. That's what the original source says. Now, could the original source be lying to us or telling us things that are not true? Of course. That's true of any original source. That's true of any original source. But how do you determine that when it comes to original source? Um, I mean, you have to have something to compare it to that's equivalent to an original source. Do people have people in history written things down that were false? Yeah, of course. I mean, look at newscasts today. A lot of it is just propaganda, right? So, so you have to take that into account as well. But at least I know what the newscaster has said, and I can say, well, this is what the newscaster said. If I look at an original source, I can say, well, this is what the original source said. Um, and if there's a whole lot of historical discoveries, archaeological discoveries, whatever it might be, that contradict that original source, I can say, well, there's a problem here, right? So that's why that's important. Any professor who assigns a paper for an essay for a student to do would say the same thing. Go to the original sources, not secondary sources. And definitely don't go to Wikipedia. That's not trustworthy. So anyway, here's the suggestions I got. I suggest you the biography, The Sealed Nectar. And I think this particular one came up a couple of times. May Allah open your heart, sir, and guide you to the right teachings of Jesus, Son of Mary. Amen. That's a very nice way of saying that. And he has, God has guided me to the truth about Jesus Christ. And so I appreciate that, but I do already know the truth about Jesus Christ. Which Quranic translation are you reading from? I did want to address that. I remembered that. And it is, I'll show you, it's kind of worn off a little bit on the front, but if you can see that, as I'm flipping through the pages, it wears off on the front. It was such a beautiful design. I'm sorry that happened, but here's maybe inside here. So there you go. That's it right there. And it's the Clear Quran series, a thematic English translation, English only, translator Dr. Mustafa Khattab, I guess you would say. Chief editors were Abu Issa Webb, Aaron Wanamaker, Hisham Sharif, and it's from the Clear Quran at the clearislam.org. Um, so there you go. That's the translation. Copyright's 2016. Um, so that's what I'm using. That's the reason I'm using this one is because it was suggested to me by someone who was watching the series. I was originally using, I don't know if I have it here right here, but I was originally using a translation that was different from that one, harder to read, not as well organized, that I had received from someone, and I don't see it here next to me. I'd have to get up and go over the bookshelf to find it. But that one, I kept hearing from the audience, no, that's not a good one. That's not the one you want to use. So somebody suggested this one, and this is what I'm using. And frankly, it is easier to read and it is easier to understand in English. Of course, I don't know how to read it in Arabic. May God open your heart. Thank you. He already has. I appreciate that. Can you read Naj al Balaga? I'll have to look that up. Uh, he's saying it's one of the most influential books in history. I would say the Bible is the most influential book in history. Even Christians quoted it. But get this, it's all from Imam Ali As. It's Ali and then that and then a space AS explanation mark. Okay. I don't want to come off of this to look this up, but I will look this up in a moment to find out what it is. It's NAHJ and then a space, capital A, and then L, space, small b, ALAGHA. So a little explanation as to what the book is would be helpful. Is that on the life of Muhammad? I don't know. British-born Muslim author Martin Lings, Abu Bakr Sirajuddin, based on early Arabic sources from the 8th and 10th century, prepared this first and unique work on the life of Prophet Muhammad. So there's a second suggestion. The life of Muhammad, his life is based on the earliest sources after 3 years of research. This valuable work has earned the well-deserved appreciation of authorities in the field of Sirah, biography of the Prophet, and has been awarded the Sirah Prize. Okay. Is that like a Pulitzer Prize? I don't know what. Anyway, you could make a video series based on reading this book. Um, it would be great and increase your follower count. Um, Hopefully, my follower count increases on what I'm doing on the Bible, but that has not been happening. Um, it's this that's been increasing the follower count, and I don't make videos just for that purpose, or even for that purpose. I make them to glorify God, to give Him all the glory, and for a little bit of educational purposes, and just sharing my journey down this road with all of you. Um, you could make a video. Okay, I got that. Let's see. So this says, translate to English. See, it just says, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. It's the original translation. It's not giving me a translation. So, nope, won't give me a translation. I don't know what that is. All right. I highly recommend Muhammad, his life based on the earliest sources. There's three by Martin Lings. And that's not the same as, yeah, Martin Lings. So that's two for Martin Lings. So 2 votes for Martin Lings. This book presents the life of Prophet Muhammad in a beautiful and respectful narrative style based on authentic early Islamic sources. It is detailed, spiritually uplifting, and easy to read. If you want to understand the Sirah deeply and historically, this is one of the best biographies available in English. And then, so that's 2 votes for that one. And a second vote for Sealed Nectar is the best biography and authentic book on Prophet Muhammad's SAW. The English version he did a typo. English version is good. So there's 2 and 2. In Islam, every nation of old received a prophet that tried to guide them to the truth. Uh, so this is this person's claim. Some were guided, some rebelled and got punished. Those who believed were tempted again by the devil to change the scripture to achieve worldly gain, or gets lost to the harsh time, or considered by the descendants as legends from the time of the forefathers. Some estimates reach 124,000. It's, I think he meant to put a comma, not a period between the 4 and the 0. So 124,000. The only ones in history. So he has, it's 124 period and then 000, the only ones in history. So that had maybe he meant to put a comma. The only ones in history we can confirm safely to be true were the ones confirmed by God Himself. Okay. So, yes, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon all of them, are prophets and messengers of God. If you're not familiar with this, um, Islam believes that Jesus was a prophet, but not God in the flesh. And so they count him only as a prophet among Abraham, Moses, Muhammad. Now, so when you're considering a prophet, some of the questions that have to come to your mind is, and these are questions that I bring up when I'm looking at books like Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Malachi, I mean, any of the prophets in the Bible. What's the purpose of the prophecy? What are they prophesying about? The time frame of the prophecy, that's important because fulfillment, time frame is important to fulfillment. And what was going on during the prophecy? For example, I'm going through Ezekiel right now, and Ezekiel prophesied during the time when he was prophesying the captivity of Judah to go into captivity under Babylon when Nebuchadnezzar came down and took them captive. The 70 years of captivity, and then their return back into the land after the 70 years. That's the crux of his prophecy. He prophesied before that occurred, and I and was also alive during the time that it occurred, and then like Jeremiah, his contemporary. Um, so that's important to know that time frame. 586 BC was the captivity, and then you had 70 years, which would drive it into the 400 BCs. Just, I mean, they went back into the land just a little bit before the 400 years of silence, before the birth of Jesus Christ, the Messiah. So that's important. So the question I would have back to the person who left a comment, what was the purpose of Abraham's prophecy? What is the Abrahamic covenant? What was the purpose of Moses' prophecy? What was the Mosaic covenant? What was the purpose of Jesus Christ coming upon the earth? And he did prophesy. He prophesied the events of AD 70 that occurred when the temple was destroyed and Jerusalem was taken down by the Roman army during the time when the Jews were rebelling against Rome, and there was a fight inside of the Roman Empire between the Jews and the Romans. Jesus prophesied all that would happen. So he was a prophet, but much more than a prophet. And Muhammad. So the question, once again, same question. If Muhammad's claiming to be a prophet, what's the purpose of his prophecy? Why the seventh century? What was going on in the seventh century that required a prophet? Um, and what was the purpose behind it? And if you're looking at Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, then the other question is, do you accept, um, those books of the Bible? Do you accept the Pentateuch, Genesis, Exodus, um, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers, which were the time of Abraham and Moses, or talked about Abraham and Moses? Do you accept the four Gospels? Abraham, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. If you're saying Jesus is a prophet, um, and the information we have on Jesus is the four Gospels in the Bible, do you accept those? And of course, Muhammad, I'm going through that materials now, or those materials now. Uh, what's the purpose of Muhammad? Why did he need to prophesy anything? Um, And how does that relate to Abraham, Moses, and Jesus? Um, those are questions that have to be asked when it comes to this. Of course, being a Christian, my answers would be different to those questions than a Muslim, how a Muslim would answer them. Anyway, he says, Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon all of them, are prophets and messengers of God, each sent by God and did miracles in his name by his permission. What miracles did Abraham do? What miracles did Moses do? God did the miracles. God just told Moses, go do this and I'll perform the miracles. Um, each sent by God and did miracles in his name by his permission. Okay. When he allowed for it. Some created miraculously Adam from dust with no father or mother. Well, yeah, God created him. Isaac, two parents sterile from old age. Yeah, true. Jesus, no father, virgin mother. So he recognizes the virgin birth of Christ. So do you, Psalm 22? Do you recognize Psalm 22? As well, some people miraculously like Eve from a man. Um, no father, no mother, just a rib. Okay. As examples for mankind, proving to them that God can create life however he wants. So there's some things that parallel between Christianity and Islam, and one of them is God the Creator. But when it comes to Jesus Christ, two different views, completely different views of Jesus Christ. Uh, Somebody left me a video, the story of Prophet Muhammad. I watched it. It was very short. I guess it was introducing a series, and it was obviously not History Channel materials. It was obviously very slanted toward um, an Islamic um, view of Muhammad. I can't play the video for you, but it was interesting. In Arabic, we read from right to left. The same is true in Hebrew. It's right to left. That's why you can't find it. And I don't know what it is. I couldn't find it. I don't know what the reference is. I'd have to watch the entire video that I did to. There was a footnote that I couldn't find. There's a footnote I couldn't find. It said there was a footnote. I read the footnote at the bottom, but I couldn't find the number for the footnote in the text. And I said it was probably just a copy error in the text in that particular printing of the Quran. All right, I don't see any more. Um, Nothing really heavy this time around. Let me see if there's anything else. Hmm, is there any more here? No, not finding anything. Okay. Maybe I'm just don't know how to do it. Let me go that's last 28 days. It's not allowing me on the phone. If I got it on the computer, it might be different. But it's not allowing me to go past 28 days on the phone. So we'll leave it there. That's all I have so far on this. So I'm going to go back and we're going to start the day of reading here on YouTube. I will begin with the Bible readings and then move into the Quran, and then end up with this book I'm trying to get through, The Battle for Christmas by Stefan Nissenbaum. It's really interesting. It's a book on the history of Christmas in the United States. It's a Pulitzer Prize finalist, A Cultural History of America's Most Cherished Holiday. And the last reading I did was very interesting because it was talking about the economic conditions of the time when Charles Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol, and the discussions that they were having concerning what's the best way to help the poor during that time that he wrote that. And it's fascinating because it was the same types of discussions that we're still having today. Only today we'd say, how do you help the homeless? Um, and the discussions that they were having 150 years ago is the same discussions we're having now. It's like the same arguments, the same questions, the same quandary of how do we do this? It's like we haven't solved anything in 150 years on how to help the homeless or the poor. It was a pretty interesting read. I can't wait to get it further into it. I'm almost done with that book. I think the next book I'm going to do, and I'll just leave it at this, I have two that I want to get into. The first one I'm going to do after the Christmas book is on the Christian life. It's a short, I don't know if you can see that. There you go. It's a short section of the Institutes of the Christian Religion by John Calvin. And it's just a practical book on how to live the Christian life. It's short, wouldn't take very long to read it. I'm going to do that one. And then this one I'm enjoying a lot. Heaven Misplaced, Christ's Kingdom on Earth by Doug Wilson. There's the book. I take the covers off of them because those just get messed up. I like them like this. Um, and this is a really good book too. So I'm going to do those two books right after I finish the book on Christmas. And we'll just keep on moving on. I mean, look, guys, I got like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I could do that. I've got I've got the Egyptian Book of the Dead. If you want to know more about historically about what the Egyptians believe, uh, and I looked at it and I thought, well, I could understand better how they thought during the time of the Exodus with Moses. And then I got into the book and I realized this was not written at that time yet. This was much later than Moses. But it can still help us understand that. This is the Book of Mormon, um, by another Testament of Jesus Christ by the Church of Latter-day of Jesus Christ for Latter-day Saints. Um, I'll be looking at that one. And so these are like their original sources of what people thought. So knowing history from original sources is so important for us. It gives us a knowledge that we don't get from secondary sources. And so when we're speaking, we know a little bit about what we're actually talking about when we reference something like that. I've got more. I've got some materials that, of course, Jehovah's Witnesses always show up at your door, and I've got materials from them uh, that I can look at. And I analyze when it comes to the religious materials, I analyze them from a Christian perspective, and always do a comparison to the Bible and how where it lines up with the Bible, where it does not line up with the Bible, where there's a contradiction between those materials and the Bible. All right. I think that's going to be it, and we're going to get into it here in just a few moments. I will be in the book of Genesis here in just a few moments in the next video. God bless you guys. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Thank you for leaving the comments and the suggestions. I will take a look at those. I've got two sources to look at now that you guys suggested. And I'll have to decide between those two sources which one I will go with first. But first, before I buy any books, any more books, money has to go into the bank account, guys. I can't just go out and buy books anytime I want. There is a budget, you know. All right. God bless you guys. I'll see you next time.